Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second day of HCT's InnCuVation Forum 2021. Today's forum theme is going to talk about the sector of sustainability. And before kicking off this forum, I'd like to give the opportunity to live from IDEX, our own Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Alex Zahavich, to welcome you all to our forum today. Dr. Alex, over to you. You are muted, Dr. Alex. We'd like to hear your voice.
There we go. How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Alex.
Great. Salam alaikum from IDEX. This is live reporting by your roving Chief Academic Officer here at the greatest show on earth at the biannual Defense Expo for the Gulf region. And right behind me, if you could see it, is the illustrious HCT booth constructed, built by our communications team. And it just shows HCT's presence is not just at our campuses, it's all over the country, it's all over the world. I want to open the second session welcoming our guest speakers, our keynote speakers, our panelists, our applied researchers. Sustainability is near and dear to my heart. My PhD was done in plastics recycling, and I ran a food packaging business built on sustainable packaging, about 20, 25 years ago. So I'm really excited to see and hear from our speakers in short order. Again, this is a historic moment. Welcome to all the participants, and I'll pass this back over to Khalid, capable hands. Have a great day, folks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alex, and good luck to you and to the team running the 5-day IDEX exhibition on behalf of HCT. Thank you very much for joining us today. As Dr. Alex said, our speakers and panelists will consider a few questions, including what are the most impactful sustainability innovation trends today? What innovative practices can be implemented, especially in relation to the UN Sustainable Development Goals? We're going to get to learn a great deal through two inspirational keynote speakers, delivered from leading experts and groundbreaking innovators in their respective fields. It's now my pleasure to welcome the first of our highly distinguished and eminent keynote speakers in the sustainability sector. And let me give you a quick introduction on our first speaker. Our first speaker is Engineer Anwar Al-Shimmari, the Chief Innovation Officer and Director of Land Transport in the UAE's Ministry of Energy and Infrastructure. She has 20 years of multidisciplinary experience in architecture, urban planning, engineering, infrastructure, and transportation sectors. In addition to her role, she leads the Artificial Intelligence team and the Scientific Research Committee and is a member of the UAE's 50 Years Preparedness Task Force. She is a board member at the Sheikh Zayed Housing Program and is the Vice President of the UAE chapter of ASTM, judging over 4,000 competition entries in her fields of expertise, including the Sharjah Innovation Award 2020. 2 master's degrees in urban planning and transport planning from AUS, and a PhD candidate in governance of urban planning policies. Without further ado, please welcome Engineer Anwar Al-Shimmari, who will share her insights into the innovative practices being implemented by the Ministry of Energy related to sustainability. Engineer Anwar.
Thank you very much, Khalid, for the introduction, and I would like to thank everyone attending today. It's important to also understand and highlight how can we deal with the innovation. It's not only about academic, it's not about technology, but it's a whole holistic culture, basically. So what I would like to highlight is we need first to define what is sustainability. So sustainability for me is the guarantee that I'm giving to my grandchildren to enjoy a life better than mine, basically. So if we're talking about sustainability, people misunderstand sustainability. Sometimes they consider it's related to environment only. but it's a whole holistic overview to everything impact our life. The other thing that is also important to really define is what is innovation. And for me, innovation is either a new change, it's a change basically, or it's a significant improvement to that impact our life or work that should be achievable, have an impact, and definitely we are able to expand it to other entities, to other countries, to other practices basically. When we talk about sustainability, we have to ensure that we're not only talking about the three main aspects that everyone always considered, because based on the recent changes to our lives, without mentioning what, because we all know what happened behind the pandemic, we have to realize that innovation in sustainability is crucial, because we have seen how life is impacted without even being there as a significant player. For example, many people think that sustainability is only related to environment or, for example, economy. However, what happened recently show that sustainability is a significant player in being able to live on, not only live, basically to be within a whole context of living environment. So when we talk about this, we have to highlight how to deal with sustainability in different aspects. So for example, when we talk about academia field, when we talk about research, one of the main aspects that we see research coming from students or universities with numbers of how many, for example, how many research the university or this entity have developed in 1 year. But it's not only about the numbers, it's also about how many people or how many entities or researchers have gained knowledge out of this research. So with talking about this, we have to highlight one of the main aspects. One of the aspects that have highlighted significantly in 2019 was the Global Innovation Index. Coincidentally, it was talking about the health sector before the pandemic. The health sector reflected places where it's famous for R&D, and it considered that these are the places for real work, but the other places that are not famous with R&D, they consider them as noise. So how to differentiate ourselves from being noise? It's important to highlight the level of sophistication and impact of the basically the R&D or the research related to life, not only health. One of the other aspects that came on that report was the number of outcomes compared to the income. Or outcome compared to what has been considered as an input, basically. So one of the countries that were highlighted in that report, they had outcomes less than the input, were UAE. And this is really crucial. Why do we have less outcome than the input? There is significant input, but the outcomes are not addressed well. I believe that one of the reasons is, how do we deal with R&D? We use R&D as only a research that will be shelved or stored. We don't take these studies or these research to the next level, to the applied science level. So I believe that dealing with applied sciences is most important for the sustainability, either in academic field or even in any other field, because you're not dealing only with research, but also you're taking it to the next level, which is applying it. So this, I believe, is one of the most important aspects for innovation that we have to consider in the coming, in the coming few years. The other thing is, where does this research taking us? So I'll give you an example. I was in Sweden in 2017 and 2018, and I was interested to see how the academic field is running there. And I was, surprised that the government have a strategy, And all the students who's doing their thesis or their research have to take one of the elements of that strategy and explore it more through their research. So when we talk about strategy, it's not only related to the government, it should also fulfill the requirements through the research, through the the academic part as well. So it's a purely holistic thing. We cannot take it only from academic part, but the academic part should fulfill the requirements as well of the government strategy. So this is another aspect we have also to consider. Maybe it's also important to highlight one of the things that we have, we have to consider. I have one slide I'd like to show. I didn't consider thinking about it, but I don't know if we will be able to show it, Khalid.
Yes, Engineer Anwar, please go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you very much. It's basically one slide only that I don't know if it's showing.
Yes, it's visible. Yes.
This is the Global Innovation Index criteria. How do we evaluate innovation basically globally? And we can see that in the here we can see institutions, and then we can see research. We can see knowledge and technology outputs. We can see the creative outputs. We can also see what are the major inputs. Here on this, we can see education and research and development. So you can see how this is really significant in innovation. When we talk about innovation and sustainability, we are talking about innovation in R&D, innovation in research, innovation in education, because this is the most crucial issue to take us where to go next. During the pandemic, we have seen that many, we were waiting for new studies always because this was totally new for us. Every single study was an innovation by itself. It set a milestone and a benchmark for all other studies coming after that. The level of innovation in research from health sector generated in the last year is, I believe it's definitely more than 80% of all innovations generated during the same time. So when we talk about that innovation, it was not about technology, it was about research. So sustainability is significantly related to research, to education, and that's why I always encourage students in entities and universities to focus on the quality of research. It's not about research only, the quality of research, the quality of outcomes expected, because it's not only related to their research or to their university or entity, it's definitely impacting also the whole country and what is impacting the innovation in the R&D sector in the world.
Thank you, Engineer Anwar. I think it's quite interesting to see the quality of research and the different ways that even many of our faculty who are joining us here today are able to focus their research on certain government strategies and future outlooks, especially as the UAE is always looking 50 years ahead of time towards 2071 and the different aspects of that individual strategy. Thank you so much, Engineer Anwar, for shedding light on this important topic. And we are really delighted to have you with us today in providing your valuable comments and perspectives. And we also look forward to all of the outputs coming from the Ministry of Energy and to see how HCT as the largest federal university in the UAE can always collaborate in the field of energy and in the field of sustainability as well. So thank you very much. It is now my pleasure to welcome our second distinguished keynote speaker in the sustainability sector. Our second keynote speaker will be Mr. Isa Al-Hashimi, the manager of the Food Security Office in the Prime Minister's Office. By way of introduction, Isa has more than 13 years of experience in strategy development and implementation, covering a wide range of sectors, including infrastructure development, transportation, roads, environment management, food security, green development, and quality infrastructure. In his current role, his key responsibilities include overseeing the development of the National Food Security Strategy in the UAE, overseeing the adoption of technologies and their utilization in the agri-business, and facilitating the development of food security research and development agenda in the UAE. Prior to this role, he was the Director of Conformity Affairs and the Chief Innovation Officer at the Emirates Authority for Standardization and Metrology in Dubai. We are also very, very excited that Mr. Isa is joining us today because he has completed his higher diploma in civil engineering, a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, and a master's degree in business administration, all from the higher colleges of technology, meaning that Mr. Isa is one of our very distinguished alumni, and we are very happy to have him as a keynote speaker today. Please welcome Mr. Isa Al-Hashimi, who will share his insights into the work of the Food Security Office related to sustainability. Mr. Isa, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Khalid. It's also quite an honor for me to be an affiliate with the higher colleges of technology. And it's also a privilege for me to speak to everybody about the role of innovation in achieving the national food security strategy here in the UAE, and ensuring that everybody here will enjoy safe, efficient, and nutritious food that is affordable for an active life in all conditions and circumstances. Basically, the innovation is a key enabler and has been put as a core element of our national food security strategy. In our vision, we do realize that without innovation, it will be extremely difficult to achieve food security in such harsh and marginal environment here in the United Arab Emirates. So, in our strategy, we have adopted a vision that we aim to achieve by enabling the UAE to be a food security hub using innovation as a key enabler. And when we talk about sustainability and innovation in food security, we have to understand that there is a key interdependency that we need to manage in order to ensure that we have sustainable food security here in the UAE. And this interdependency relies on three elements or three scarce natural resources, which we do not enjoy abundance of them here in the UAE. Those are our water resources, food, and finally, the energy. Those are three interdependent elements which forms the core of how to sustainably manage your food security. We all know that without water, you can't grow food. And without energy, you will not be able to control the environment, and you will not be able to grow in such a harsh and arid environment. So in the United Arab Emirates, we basically define the sustainable food security by achieving food security with minimal input of our scarce natural resources of energy and water. It's a very simple equation. What we need to do is we need to use the least amount of resources while maximizing our output, maximizing our yield, maximizing the amount of food that we produce without jeopardizing the quality, without jeopardizing the nutritional value of the food that we produce. It seems to be a very difficult equation. However, with innovation, with advanced technologies, with research and development, the UAE is able to progress. And the UAE is able to achieve this very difficult equation in order for us to enjoy food in our homes and fulfill our basic needs. So let me give you a brief about the food security here in the UAE. The UAE imports 90% of its food. This makes us vulnerable to food disruptions. If a problem occurs in Brazil, we will be impacted. If a problem occurs in Russia, we will be impacted. If price hikes of main commodities such as wheat, barley, maize, and so on, we will also be impacted. And this has raised an alarm here in the United Arab Emirates. And we were asked to develop a national plan in order to overcome such challenge. So in 2017, we were able to develop the first national food security strategy of the United Arab Emirates. And we have put innovation, as we said, at the core function of this strategy, with a specific direction to enhance our local production using innovation or innovative technology-based solutions. So we started by forming a small team. And in this team, we looked at all the possible technologies that are currently available that are ready for commercialization. And we have seen that those technologies could be adopted in different applications and different forms. And we said, well, apparently those technologies could bring a lot of positive things and manage our scarce natural resources in a very robust way. It could reduce water consumption by 90%. It reduces our greenhouse gas emissions and our carbon footprint. It also enhances yield. It reduces the amount of human interaction. It produces nutritious food and quite uninterrupted operation. So basically we are able to produce 24/7 and throughout the days of the year. And this is where we came up with many interventions, many innovative interventions. So in order to promote those technologies, we were able to work with research and development institutes here in the UAE and outside, and to develop different applications of them. So today we have, for example, vertical farms. And vertical farms are applications of stacking vertically your produce in a controlled environment where you monitor the humidity, monitor the temperature, and you will basically rely on hydroponic system, which means growing without soil. And most of the nutrients are fed directly through those solutions and through the water to the plants. This has enabled us to use less space and to grow throughout the year, and at the same time grow in a competitive manner. However, we did notice that we have a challenge in here. While this ticks all the boxes, there is an element of acceptability of our consumers. And they were unable to distinguish what does this technology mean and how it brings value. So we were able to innovate and to issue a system called the National Sustainable Agriculture Label. This is a very distinguished label that is used on products in order to showcase the consumer that this product has been grown sustainably and using innovative means and in a very efficient and effective manner. And this is where we are also empowering our consumer to take those smart choices in order to support sustainability. Throughout also our program, we were able to develop a building code, an active building code. This is very unique because so many countries does not have this building code, yet the UAE, being not an agricultural or an agriculture dependent country in our economic growth and development, yet we have this specific building code. This building code has enabled us to reduce the cost of setting up a modern farm by 25%, while reducing our carbon footprint by 12%. And basically this will enhance the competitiveness of our local produce enabling them to grow food and supplying our market. On another note, we are also we have also worked with our stakeholders from the academic sector to define suitable aquaculture atlas. Those are basically locations that has been assigned in the sea or on offshore or on ground, basically, to grow and to farm fish products and aquatic species. And basically this will enable us to move from our unsustainable and aggressive fishing regime to a more sustainable fish farming and aquaculture industry by enabling our farmers to use those systems, such as the controlled, the RAS systems, the extensive offshore caging systems, to grow and to farm fish in the sea and to be able to supply it in a very sustainable way to our markets and to the needs of our people and residents here in the UAE. And those has many advantages when it comes to the quality of the food, when it comes to the taste of this food, and at the end of the day, even the nutritious value of such food, because we were able in such precise environment to even tailor the development of those products in terms of their macro and micro nutrients aspects in order to fill in a gap or in order to achieve a consumer's perspective. In our strategy, we also have adopted research and development as a key enabler, as well as enabling human capacity in order to achieve our objectives. The UAE faces one of the most significant challenges when it comes to food security, is about the post-harvest food loss as well as food waste. And in here, it's quite shocking to know that here in the UAE, we waste approximately 197 kilograms of food annually per capita. And this means basically that almost 1/3 of what we eat or what we procure, we waste. And this is a very high percentage. And this is where we are now looking at different options in order to, and innovations in order to reduce this number significantly, and thus providing more food for our consumers. So we launched something called the Food Tech Challenge last year. The Food Tech Challenge is a global competition that invites innovators, entrepreneurs to utilize technology-based solution to reduce or to tackle a challenge in our food security or food supply chain. And we have received multiple innovations that looks after the food throughout the supply chain to monitor its validity and to link those specific foods that are very vulnerable or that are very that are fresh and that actually has a low shelf life, and connect them with people who needs those products in a win-win situation in order to reduce the food loss. We also have developed a system to monitor the food throughout the supply chain with municipalities in order to ensure that food loss is tackled throughout the different stages and that infrastructure is available to support such things, such as cold storage facilities and so on. So the bottom line, I think, when we look at sustainability and innovation, we do understand that the academic sector and the research and development has a fundamental contributor to achieve this vision of having sustainable food security and water security here in the UAE. And that by continuing to innovate, we will be able to overcome any upcoming challenge and ensure that the UAE is a leading entity and a leading country in when it comes to sustainability. With that, I think being said, I thank everybody for joining us today. And I would always, I always say this, that it is possible for everybody to innovate. Innovation is not something that that we need, for example, to look after. It is within everybody's DNA. It's only a matter of believing that you can innovate, that you will be able to add value and to enhance or overcome any challenge. And it's always difficult to take the most challenging or decision, but we need to understand that through all those challenges, innovation is the core ingredient to success. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isa, for your insightful comments and for the work that you do at the Food Security Office. Truly, we've seen since the assignment of the Minister for Food Security and the Food Security Office, the strategies and the way forward that the UAE is headed towards. And when we talk about the UAE's vision, when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed says the comment which is "La tshillun ham," part of that is from the food security perspective, and we are very honored and very happy to have one distinguished alumni, graduate of HCT, working on this field. And we are looking forward to future collaborations between our applied research capabilities in terms of our faculty, projects that our students do, and with your esteemed office. Also, since you mentioned aquaculture, Mr. Isa, we will be having actually a session for applied research with our very own Dr. Aisha Bushlebi, who will be presenting her research on food security and aquaculture. So we'd be honored if you would be here for that session, which will happen shortly after our panel discussion. A final thank you to both of our excellent keynote speakers today, Engineer Anwar Shimmari and Mr. Isa Al-Hashimi, for their insights, for sharing with us their thoughts on innovation, for sharing with us what their organizations are doing with regards to innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, while we wait for our next panel discussion, which will occur at 11:15, we would now like to refer you to the virtual showcase of all of our faculty's great applied research efforts that they are doing, and also to our student startups. The link will be posted now in the chat for you to visit this virtual showcase for the next 10 minutes. You can view all of the projects that we are talking about in HCT's InnCuVation Forum over these 4 days, and really look at the level of applied research, the level of our student startups that are there virtually. While we wait, we would also like to have all of our industry partners, our students, our staff join us now in the chat and tell us, what do you think are the most impactful sustainability innovation trends today? Where are we headed with regards to all of our sectors in the UAE and the world? What are the ways that we can achieve these sustainable development goals? When you answer in the chat, we would like to make sure that you are sending all of your comments to both attendees and panelists. So make sure you answer both, you select both attendees and panelists and enter your comments, and we will maybe read off a few of them to see what research is being done, either through you, your organization, or your thoughts on the future. So please feel free to join us in the chat for that. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back everybody to HCT's InnCuVation Forum. For the second day, we hope you've enjoyed our keynote addresses on sustainability. They were very highly informative, thought-provoking, and engaging. And we are very excited for our upcoming panel discussion, which will be the strategic outlook on sustainability. We'll have a distinguished panel of industry and government experts in the field of sustainability who will consider and explore what are the most impactful sustainability related trends today. They will also consider the most innovative approaches in supporting the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. I am now pleased to introduce the following session's moderator, Dr. Marco Savage, HCT's Senior Manager for International Relations, who will introduce our distinguished panelists. Please welcome Dr. Marco.
Thank you very much, Khaled, and welcome everyone to the second day of our InnCuVation Forum. We are very proud to have this event organized in such a wonderful manner, and I have to extend my greetings to all of the organizers engaging me to support this event. So today we are speaking about the sustainability, as mentioned before, and the focus of sustainability has extensively emerged in the last decades of the 20th century. First, I would like you all to agree what the sustainability refers to. Regardless that the first associations will take us forward, environmental crisis, climate change, global warming, sustainability actually refers to a much wider set of factors that our future directly and very much depends on. In 2015, the United Nations Agenda for Sustainable Development set the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all by identifying 17 Global Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. And I would list them all now for the purpose of mutual understanding. So Goal 1 is no poverty. Goal 2 is zero hunger. Goal 3 is good health and well-being. Goal 4 is quality education. Goal 5 is gender equality. Goal 6 is clean water and sanitation. Goal 7, affordable and clean energy. Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Goal 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. Goal 10, reduced inequality. Goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. Goal 12, responsible consumption and production. Goal 13, climate action. Goal 14, life below water. Goal 15 is life on land. Goal 16 is peace and justice, strong institutions. And the final one is partnership to achieve the goal. So from the UAE Vision 2021 innovation strategy, followed by other visionary documents, UAE government focus on sustainability emphasizes importance of this sector for the future of the country and society. And we will try to discuss this a little bit further today. It is my honor to present today's panelists who will help us in providing insights regarding innovative initiatives their companies are already engaged on planning to engage on. So the first panelist I would introduce is Khaled Al-Bloushi, Vice President, Digital Projects and Innovation at the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, ADNOC. Mr. Khaled, welcome.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you for the intro. So my name is Khaled Al-Bloushi. I'm the Vice President, Digital Projects and Innovation. My role in the company is to help our businesses to identify opportunities where we can apply technology to accelerate our business value. So part of my role involves, how technology can help us to achieve our sustainability targets. During the panel today, inshallah, I'll highlight, how ADNOC as a national oil company is driving the sustainability agenda in the oil and gas industry.
Thank you very much, Khaled. The second panelist is Dina Story, Head of Sustainability of the World Exposition Dubai Expo 2020. Dina.
Thank Thank you very much, Marco. My name is Dina Story. I head sustainability operations for the World Expo 2020. My role as the head of sustainability is to integrate sustainability into both our infrastructure, operations, and programming. And I will be talking a little bit about that, as well as how we encourage others within the country and also globally to adopt the Sustainable Development Goals, but also integrate sustainability into their businesses by using the Expo as a pilot or an example of how this is done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dina. The third panelist is Engineer Mohammed bin Ali, Director of Strategy and Development, Sharjah Electricity and Water Authority, SEWA. Mohammed.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Marco. This is Mohammed Abdallah. I am the Director of Strategy and Corporate Development in SEWA. Today, I can think more about the new sources of water and what is the best practice in the world. So let's just wait us and we can enjoy the coming talk. Thank you very much.
And the fourth panelist is Edward Biaclini, CEO of the 3D Vinci Creations, one of the most innovative 3D technology companies in the UAE. Edward, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Marco. Again, my name is Edward Biaclini. I'm the CEO of 3D Vinci Creations, and we are a company based in Dubai, and we specialize in 3D concrete printing. The aim of our company is to develop local expertise, local material, local know-how for the UAE and for the regional market, where we provide concrete printing services and solutions that will help combat many of the sustainability issues and climate problems that are facing the world, and hopefully move construction industry into the digital era and solve many of the issues associated with the construction itself.
Thank you very much. So as we have a very diverse set of panelists, and I really appreciate to have you all today with us, my questions would be quite open, and I hope that those would give you enough space to present what you are doing and what your companies are doing regarding sustainability, and especially embedding innovation in sustainability. But to warm up, I would like to hear from all of you one by one. If you can please distinguish 3 of the sustainable development goals you consider most critical for the future of the humanity. So let's start from Khaled. Would you be so kind to distinguish 3 of those goals you see most critical?
Well, thank you, Dr. Marco. First of all, I have to say I'm honored to come and be part of this panel, especially being HCT alumni. So I'm very honored to come back and talk about what we are doing and our priorities. So, talking about sustainability, to me, really, the SDGs or the sustainable development goals varies from one country to another and from one organization to another. As you highlighted in 2015, when world leaders agreed to the 17 sustainable development goals, I think these goals have the power to create a better world by 2030, hopefully ending poverty, fighting inequity, and addressing the urgency of climate change. So if you allow me, I want to give a specific example and why these goals are important, and hopefully it will address why I think that these points are important. So if we take COVID-19 pandemic as an example and highlight the importance of these SDG goals, the pandemic shows that sustainable development goes beyond national strategies. For every individual is to make health decisions that meet personal needs, as well as the need of the broader community, like using face masks in public transportation, observing the social distancing advices, and self-quarantining when necessary. Such individual decisions can help to stop the transmission and reduce illness, death, and will have enormous economical benefits. So it's not only what governments are doing and organizations, it's also how we responsibly as individuals act to these sustainability needs. So similarly, this global crisis reveals that community needs can be immediate. And in contrast to the 2030 horizon of the SDGs, lack of health insurance, reduced access to water during lockdown situations, or chronic disease have suddenly become really chronic factors that determine the chances of survival. Therefore, the priority really depends on the situation and the country circumstances. Guided by the goal, I think it puts the responsibility on all of us as individual governments, businesses, civil society, and general public to work together to build a better future for everyone. Again, I believe like we have more work than ever to do to achieve these targets, and the priorities differ from one person to another. It's about how we survive all together to achieve these goals.
Thank you, Khaled, so much. Dina, would you like to reflect on the same question, please?
Thank you. I think with regards to my personal point of view, goal 17 is very important. And the reason for that is it transcends all of the other goals. So if there's no collaboration and no work together, then we can't actually go through and deliver on these goals. These goals are all kind of intertwined. So if we talk about water and water scarcity and talk about countries, rural areas where water is important, most of the villagers going out are women. So gender equality can't be accomplished if water situations cannot be resolved. So if you look at I worked on the Millennium Development Goals before they were the SDGs, and I had the honor of working with the likes of Jeffrey Sachs on these issues. And to me, the way that they were developed is they are very intertwined. And so resolving one will then have a ripple effect to resolve the other. So if we talk about gender balance, then we're talking about water. If we're talking about climate change, then we're talking about life on sea and life on land. So I can't tell you which one is which, but all I can tell you is the way that they're intertwined allows us to achieve more than one goal or more than one subsection of the goal at the same time. So I hope I answered a little bit of your question.
No, you answered it perfectly. Thank you so much. Mohammed, floor is yours.
Thank you, Marcus. As Sharjah Electricity and Water Authority, I believe that's goal number 6. It's very important as clean water and sanitation. I can live without light, we can live without gas, but we cannot live without water. So let we imagine this story. One day we wake up and on a beautiful morning and went to wash our face, open the tap, but oops, no water. So can you imagine this day, what will happen to you? This is really, which is like, you can imagine that the life is like, there is a big tank and we are consuming from this big tank every day. So what will happen? Is there any new sources for this water? This is what we have to think about. These challenges and the water source challenges, it's not in UAE only, no, but this is really an international issue where everyone have to think how we can conserve water, how we can find a new source of water. During my work here in SEWA and finding new strategies in the world as a best practice, we showed some like good examples in the world, like in Singapore, we found something is named new water. It's like a bottled water, but you will find the name is not natural water, it's new water. And this water, it came from filtration of the sewage water, and then with very high technology, filtered system, they came with drinkable water. So this they bought it. Okay, I will not talk about if it is accepted or not, but this is one way of one getting new water, and they are mixed it with the fresh water coming desalinated from the sea. Another way, like some people and also other countries, they try to make some natural reserved water. Where in Singapore they convert the bay, and they try to make some dams and remove the salted water, and they change it with the fresh water. And this fresh water came from the new water plus the rain, because they are rich with rain, and they are converting all of those dams as an fresh water reserve. This is an examples only, but what about, I saw some examples also very great in Africa. They came out with something named Wanaka, if you hear about. Wanaka, it's like a harvesting water from the air. Early in the morning, you will find the water rich, and they are harvesting those water, and every day they are consuming fresh water through the harvesting during the summer. So there are so many technologies, so many ideas in this one, but how about our ideas? Where our people, where I'm trying to engage all the participants with us here. Please share with us your ideas. You can just join CEWA's website and then share with us the idea and to solve this challenge. Really, I'm sending this invitation to everyone. Everyone have feeling that it is this responsibility that I'm living in this country. I need to find some new source of water where I can participate it with my future and a new system. I just came also from one of the innovation lab organized by Sharjah Police. It was really a wonderful with all seniors in Sharjah. They talk a lot about the COVID-19 situation and how we can bring like innovative solutions in this term. So one of the good idea actually I hear today, it's about engagement. Engagement, very important. Like I will not force you to do the things, but please engage with us and try to understand the situation, because it is a community situation. It's not a personal, or it is not about a family. It's about community responsibility. That's to have a sustainable life, a sustainable, healthy life and healthy business as well. So we need to work as a community and to protect from any actions or any precautions required.
Mohammed, it seems that we lost you. I hope that things would. Now it's okay. No problem. We lost the sound at some point. Actually, you perfectly continued where Dina stopped. It's all about partnerships, and there are no solutions if we are not sharing ideas. So, Edward, would you be so kind to give your stance regarding the most critical SDGs at this point of our lives?
Yes, thank you, Marco. Again, from our perspective at 3D Vinci is there are many SDGs that digitizing construction will help in, but the three main areas are Goal 11, Goal 13, and Goal 8. Definitely, we're looking at sustainable cities and communities as part of the overall benefit that digitizing construction or bringing the digital era to construction through 3D printing can help. It can also it can do that by actually there's a big housing shortage in the world. We're talking about over 300 million houses globally that are substandard in many cities in the world, and definitely in the area here as well. So in order to bring equality, again, this is one of the other goals. So they are all, like Dina was saying, they are all intertwined, the goals. So by providing sustainable cities and communities, you can also provide equality between the different people, the different generations, even between male and female. 3D construction, also 3D concrete printing is also focusing a lot on the actual material being used in the construction itself. And we are advocating the use of geopolymers instead of cement in the construction. As you all know, cement, there's over 25 gigatons of cement being produced yearly, and they actually contribute to over 7% of the total CO2 emission globally every year. So if we can bring that down by using newer material, more innovative material, that will also contribute significantly to the problem of the climate change. And 3D printing in concrete or in construction actually provide the number of, it answers many of the issues with labor shortage and availability of skilled labor. And it actually opens, as you know, in construction, most of the jobs are primarily for males. With concrete printing, because we're digitizing it, we open also the area for less labor, to answer the global shortage of labor and to allow for different people to enter the construction job market as well. So these are the three primarily goals that this particular technology is trying to help. And by doing that, it can actually contribute to many of the other goals that are listed in the 17 SDGs.
Thank you so much, Edward. We really opened a great discussion, and it is very obvious that the set of the goals is so interconnected that you can't speak about one without touching few of the others. Let's see what we are doing basically to try to support those goals. So my second and the last question for this discussion would be, if you would not mind to provide your understanding regarding those goals you believe that yours and you personally in your company with the innovative engagement may contribute to improve our chances for the future. So I'm very well aware that all of your institutions, organizations, companies are very much focused on sustainability, but I would really like to hear from you some examples of innovative actions. So we will start from Khaled again. Khaled, please, what ADNOC do to support our future?
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Mark. It will be hard to present, the complete sustainability strategy program during this few minutes, but I'll try to summarize. And I'll start by highlighting, ADNOC's main 6 sustainability ambitious targets at a glance, and then I'll give few examples on how innovation is helping us to achieve these goals. So ADNOC's 2030 sustainability strategy really extends from its legacy as a responsible producer of oil and gas. And to enforce our long-standing commitment to the environment stewardship across 6 sustainability pillars. So pillar one part of this strategy talks is around climate emissions and energy, through which ADNOC is committed to decrease the greenhouse gas emissions intensity by 25% by 2030. And we committed to expand our carbon capture and utilization capacity by 500%. Pillar 2 focuses on a local environment, where ADNOC is committed to minimize the impact on local environment through sustainability, biodiversity, water, and waste management. Pillar 3 focuses on the economical and social contribution, where ADNOC aims to achieve an in-country value score of 50 across the full value chain by 2030, reinforcing ADNOC's role as a primary catalyst of the UAE social economical development. And we have in pillar 4, which focuses on workforce diversity and development. And pillar 5 highlights our ambitions on health, safety, and security, where ADNOC have set a target to be the global benchmark for safety and asset integrity. And finally, The pillar 6 is around business sustainability, through which ADNOC presents its commitment to integrate risk management across operations and business planning. I like the example that was used by Edward on using the polymers, as a new material, as a new science. So in a similar fashion, today we're trying to replace our lengthy pipelines that carry the oil from one side of the country to the other side of the country, from steel or different types of pipe to polymers, so that we can achieve our sustainability targets. To produce a steel pipe, you need a high energy intensive machining, and whereas if you substitute that with the polymers, it's much easier, and you can avoid so many issues like corrosion and other things. And even for the repair, and that is much easier and very environment friendly. So we really believe that these sustainability targets, cannot be achieved without technology and innovation. And I personally think that technology will be absolutely critical to achieve the climate goals in an affordable manner. Giving more examples to highlight the commitment of ADNOC. So today ADNOC operates, part of our operations, we have a carbon capture facility that captures around 800 tons of CO2 annually through Riyadh. Part of ADNOC's sustainability commitment, ADNOC plans to expand that capacity of this program by 6-fold by capturing CO2 from its gas plants, with the aim of reaching 5 million tons. So from 800 kilotons to 5 million tons of CO2 every year. So if we translate, what does that mean? This is an equivalent of annual carbon capture capacity of over 5 million acres of forest, or a forest that is twice the size of UAE. We are running several energy efficiency programs across our value chain, and we're implementing a lot of these latest technologies to avoid emissions such as drones and autonomous systems. We've recently started to look into hydrogen and other potential fuels of the future, as ammonia, and other focus for time is being on blue hydrogen ammonia. Another example of part of this commitment is the use of predictive maintenance programs, where we are in process of implementing one of the largest predictive maintenance projects in the oil and gas industry, with the aim to operate our assets in the best suitable manner and to avoid any sudden failures of these assets resulting in flaring and other environmental issues. The list goes on, and I can spend time, to give you various examples. Since I'll turn the mic to you, Doctor, to allow the other panelists also to share their insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Khaled, so much. We are so much aware of ADNOC initiatives in this area, and we are proud to have such a responsible company as heading us in the major economic sector in this country. Dina, would you be so kind to give an overview how Expo 2020 works on sustainability-related innovations?
Thank you. Well, sustainability is a sub-theme of Expo. Expo's main theme is connecting minds, creating the future. And so the main goal of whatever we do is connect minds and create the future. Expo has 3 sub-themes: sustainability, which focuses on the sustainability impact, not just within the Expo timeframe, but also beyond that, as well as the beyond the 6 months of the event, as well as beyond the boundaries of the site. And I'll explain that a little bit. Mobility is the second one, which focuses on mobility. And that does not mean just mobility within the automotive industry, but digital mobility. And that includes, of course, innovative ideas about the movement of ideas and the movement of people, as well as the movement of innovation. And then the third one is opportunity, and that's human opportunity. And that focuses entirely on the Sustainable Development Goals. And hopefully when you come visit the Expo, you'll see these anchor pavilions that represent each one of those sub-themes. I'll go back to sustainability because that's our core, the core of what I do at the Expo. Sustainability, my mandate is to integrate sustainability into everything at the Expo. We've broken that into 3 areas, which is integrating sustainability into the operations, into the infrastructure, and into the programming. Impact, how we impact our visitors, but also how we impact beyond the boundaries of the site. How do we work with the likes of the companies that I see now on the panel? How do we work with the higher education institutions and so on and so forth? That's impact. And inspire is how we can inspire the next generation to take this on, to inherit what we're doing and take it further. I'll give you examples of some of what we do. For example, all of our buildings are LEED certified permanent structures. That's over 120 buildings on site that are permanent and that are LEED Gold and above certified. We have an annual savings of at least 30% on energy, and all of the permanent structures are embedded with photovoltaic panels. The buildings themselves are designed to be efficient, but also the walkability in those areas, and the ability to move around is very important. So there's the passive design aspects that are integrated. In terms of water conservation, we are 45% below the DEWA baseline. That's our KPI. We report on all of our targets, and you'll see that in our sustainability report that we issue on an annual basis. But our focus isn't just on the environmental sustainability, it's on the social aspects. And I feel sometimes when we say the word sustainability, everybody thinks of energy, water, emissions, and we forget the important second pillar of sustainability, which is social. So we focus on accessibility, we focus on the capability to the inclusivity of everyone, hence the connecting minds creating the future. And we not just do that, we report on that as well. So we create that transparency aspect of this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and this is how we want to engage with everybody so that there's lessons learned from what we do. In a way, sorry.
I'm really sorry. We are running a bit out of time. So
no worries. So just one thing, in a way, hopefully you'll all come and enjoy the Expo when it opens its doors in October. And we'll have many more discussions about what we're doing. Thank you.
We can't wait. We are already in delay. Actually, we were teased last year, same time. So hopefully we will join you in October.
Thank you.
Mohammed, floor is yours, and please have a bit of conscience about the time. I'm really sorry, but we are breaking the lines.
No problem. Thank you, Marcus. Welcome again. Just I will make it brief about the strategy of SEWA and how we want some of success stories, what we implement in terms of the sustainability. So SEWA, yes, we do have some sustainability goals and strategy in the corporate level, and then also to the business level, strategy level with the department. We've done a lot of successful stories like cooperated with the government entities and mosque fixing all the conservation tools in the mosque, and where there are more than around 1,000 mosques, and government buildings covered with those tools. In addition to that, we done some with mixing with innovation strategy. We came out with some of changing the oil. We are using the oil purification machine, where it's reduced the number of people, number of the time, and also the recycling the oil itself in the spot. This is another project what the innovation team they work on, and it is implemented now in SEWA. As if anyone would like to see the way, you are most welcome as best practice. The one more point also we work on, and we established actually a conservation department. Conservation department, the main message for this department is to, as Dina, she said, to involve in the community and try to transfer the message with the community, especially the new generation, So they are visiting more than 200 schools. They are running many sessions, workshops, trying to educate people. They are focusing on transferring the knowledge to the new generation about the importance of the sustainability, and also just make it as a strong relation in the society. So thank you very much. I don't like to spend more time and to save others also colleagues time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. Great ideas in SIVA, and we are really proud on you. Edward, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Marco. Again, I will be brief, although to go over sustainability with the 3D printing technologies is a big topic. But anyways, the main areas where the technology itself can bring sustainable or benefits to the sustainable part of this discussion is what 3D concrete printing will do to the construction. We're talking about mainly construction here. Is it will provide from a sustainability, and I will talk about each point separately. It will provide for improved concrete mix, and I will talk about that quick. Improved designs, reduce material waste, less labor, less tools, product integration, and process automation. All of these actually go into the benefits of sustainability and eco-friendliness. The improved concrete mix, mainly we're looking at reducing the cement production in the world. Again, cement, that we're talking about 7% contribution to the CO2 emission globally. So as much as we can bring that number down, the better. And we are working here in Dubai, in the UAE, primarily with higher institutions that will help us, such as HCT, that will help us in developing material, geopolymer material, or even mixes that rely less so on OPC, and this way we can actually contribute to the sustainability of the technology. From improved design, we're looking at actually incorporating parametric design, whereby buildings and villas and houses will rely less on steel infrastructure and rather on the design itself to be self-sustaining, to be self-loading. Again, this is a very big topic, and we're also working with institutions and organizations here that will help us do these kind of improved designs. With the 3D printing, we're also looking at reduced material waste. We're looking at basically not using any of the formwork that you usually see, or all of the forklifts and machinery that are around in any construction site. You only use the printer by itself, and that's all you need. So the water that will be used in the mix will also be less. Again, we're contributing to that as well. From a less labor perspective, less labor actually, we look at it from a eventually net zero emission, meaning that anytime you have a group of people, of laborers who are going to the site, you have the transportation, you have the living, all of this, that will also contribute to CO2 emission. By reducing the number of laborers in a particular project, we can also significantly add to the sustainability. Less tools used. We look at using less, again, forklift, machines, any of these things that you typically see in a construction site, and you're using the overall footprint that these bring to the CO2 emission within the construction. Product integration, we like the printers eventually as they develop, as the technology develop, that we integrate different function within the same equipment. So you have insulation, and you have many other products that goes into a construction being integrated within the same machine, so that you don't have to have all of the other stuff as well. And it will also contribute significantly to sustainability. And process automation, you want to automate the entire process. So what you want to do is you want to work with digitally in the construction area, so that you don't have all of the process of going to the municipality and to the authorities. All of this can also actually be done through an automation process without having to do all of the groundwork, all of the legwork, all of the running around, the paperwork. And I think that's also attainable within the next 5 to 10 years. So with all of these put together, we believe that 3D printing and construction has a very significant contribution to sustainability and eco-friendliness.
Thank you so much, Edward. This is a topic very close to my heart. I'm an architect by profession, and I was teaching sustainable architecture for a while. And I know that almost 50% of the energy consumption worldwide directly or indirectly relies on buildings and building production. So this is something what is quite important. And of course, I don't want to minimize the importance of other topics we have covered during this session. I would like to thank you all for excellent ideas, but mostly I would like to thank you all for willingness to collaborate, to come to HCT, to support our forum and to engage with our faculty and students in the future in order to improve our support to sustainable development goals, and basically to support the future of the humanity at large. At this point, with another thanks to all of the panelists, I would give a floor back to Khalid Noimi, our MC, who would continue with the following sessions on applied research and startups. Khalid, floor is yours, and thank you very much once more.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marco. Thank you to all the amazing panelists that you had on your panel today. Obviously, the forum is open. If any of your panelists would like to stay with us, they are more than welcome. And to all of our attendees, we will now, as we did yesterday, we will be moving on to our own faculty and staff. We'll be moving on to our own students who are creating their own companies, creating their own startups out of the different sectors that we have today, whether sustainability or whether, as yesterday, we talked about different topics. So without further ado, I would like to showcase to you what is the latest applied research that we have in HCT with regards to sustainability. For our first applied research presentation in the field of sustainability, I would like, and it is my honor, to present our first presenter, Dr. Aisha Abu Shleibi, the Director of HCT Dubai campuses. Dr. Aisha will be presenting to us today a subject very close to her heart, as we all know, which is sustainability in general. In this case, her topic will be aquaculture needs in the UAE today and beyond. So without further ado, we would like to hear from you, Dr. Aisha. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Khaled. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to present my research paper today. It's about aquaculture need in UAE today and beyond. This research project we started almost 2 years ago, and we looked over the problem that can face the aquaculture production in UAE. And the main problem was that the aquaculture production did not meet the consumer demand in UAE. We looked over several problems that can face the aquaculture. And we found that only 10% from the fish that we consume is catch from the sea. However, we have a huge amount of fish that is still valuable and usable for human consumption. However, the consumption is very low. Also, the environment of fish culture, also we need to optimize it to meet the local population demand in UAE. Further analysis also need to be done to understand the challenges that can face the fish farmers in UAE and how we can go over these challenges and help them in find a good solution for them to produce and have a high quality of fish farm. Also, we need to identify the ophthalmological diseases pattern in tilapia, and we use tilapia since tilapia is the major fish that used in the fish farm in UAE. So we need to identify the microbial infection that affect the fish on fish farm and find a solution to have a high quality of production. Our aim of the study is that we develop a multi-targeted antimicrobial pellet for incorporate with a fish feed to have a high quality of fish farm for human consumption. Through the finding, we find that 23% from the fish farm only, they use the fish meal due to the high quality or high cost of the fish meal, and also they cannot afford it at this stage, and it's very expensive. 47 of the fish farms face a water quality problem and water quality issue, which affect the protection of fish in the fish farm. And also 52% from fish farm encountered with the disease, and this disease affected the fish and make the fish is not suitable for human consumption. So this is the finding, and we have to look over the impact of this research project and any analysis that will found from this topic that will be presented to Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, and to understand the challenge that face the fish farm at this stage in UAE, and how they can go over this challenge. Also, formulation of the antimicrobial feed for tilapias should be evaluated and study the effectiveness of the feed that with this antimicrobial and how it's affected through several microorganisms and produce a good high quality and good quality of fish in the fish farm. Our research grant and our research project has so many opportunities of the finding. The first one that we will enhance UAE aquaculture protection and also preventing aquaculture from infection, and to control any disease can interact with the fish and fish farm and reduce the quality of the fish. So prevention and control is very important and a very good opportunity. Also prototype as an innovation feed development. One of the very, very important opportunity is this project can be a very good startup for our students, especially those who are working with us. We have several students working with us in this research, and that will be very good startup for them to have their own business and on establishing a fish feed production farm in UAE, since we don't have, currently we don't have any plant for fish feed production. So that will be a very good opportunity for our students to have their own business and their own startup. Thank you very much. That's what my research.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aisha. We'd like to inform all of the industry partners, our faculty, if anybody would like to get in touch with Dr. Aisha with regards to her research for purposes of collaboration, information, or any other purposes. We've placed Dr. Aisha's contact information in the chat. We will also have a 30-second poll for all of the attendees here today to rate the commercialization of this project. Do you feel that this project can become commercial? So the poll will show up for you now, and you have 30 seconds to vote. And while you vote, I'd like to also add that Dr. Aisha Bushlebi is my boss, so please keep that in mind. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Aisha, for presenting your research here today. And thank you everybody for voting for the research as well. And now we'd like to move on to our next presenter. Our next presenter will be Dr. Mazen Abu Haraz, who is a faculty in HCT's Fujairah campuses. The presentation will be about sustainable HVAC systems in the UAE using ground source cooling. Without further ado, Dr. Mazen, we'd like to give you the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Khalid, for introducing me. Now the sound is okay. Okay, let me just. Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This is a good time when we share ideas about innovation ideas about building some sustainability environment here in the UAE. So our project research started in 2018, and it's a sustainable HVAC. HVAC stands for heat, ventilation, and air conditioning systems for those who are not in the mechanical field. And then this is using geothermal energy, which is called the ground source cooling. Okay. So objective of this project, as I can tell from the title of the project, is that we want to follow the natural cycle of this cooling and heating that happens in the nature. During the daytime, the heat is reserved down in the ground, and then later at night, the ground will reveal the heat back on the surface. So what we are trying to do in this project here, we are trying to build some integration of this ground source, under the ground earth, and couple that one with our air conditioning system, so that we can attain many things. We can attain a decrease in the energy demand by 40%. This is everyone would like to do this one. So the scope of this project is basically to design, build, and test those ground source coolings. And then later on, it comes the cool stuff of the scientific study of the thermal properties that we have here in the country, so that we can make sure that this is optimized project. So anyone in the field of mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, electronics, and renewable energy, business owners, and sectors like health sciences services, sciences that they're interested in the water, they can participate in this project. So basically, when we started the project early in 2018, we started by proving the concept that is it really worth of digging the ground 10 to 100 meters below the ground and sticking the pipes and connecting with the integration with the existing air conditioning system. So it was initially proof of the concept that was proven using the lab model based and prototypes, and then scaling that one to many projects ranging from sophomore design projects to senior design projects up to conferences and publications in journals. So we proved the concept, and then later on we have a grant from HCT to work on the summer 2020. Everyone remember that day, 2020, the pandemic. So we were working on that one. We're working hardly to prove that one. And then later on we piloted the model. So the model is now as a pilot model, and it's a working model now. A generous agreement with the Ministry of Infrastructure. That was agreement made between HCT and the Ministry of Infrastructure, and they are interested to implement this important project. So what is the impact of the project? Okay, countries are already, many countries are utilizing this one. Why not we started this one? Now, putting in mind that Abu Dhabi has now mandated the PEER program for the villas and the buildings. Okay, so we have to cut down on the use of and we have to implement some new technologies, use it in our buildings. Okay, the national energy efficiency stuff, and in UAE they want to cut down on the lowest 20% of the units in the market, which is energy consuming. Dubai Supreme Council has made it clear by 2030 we have to cut by 30%. Okay, so but investors and business owners, they want to know, is that worth of investing? Yes, the cost is $250 per meter square to build this one. Okay, it's initial cost of this one, but the rate of return is over the market or the bank rate of return is up to 26% to 34%. Okay, for technical people who are interested in efficiency and everything, the COP is 3.9. That means whatever kilowatt you put in this system, it will give you 4 kilowatts of cooling and heating. Okay, it's very efficient. It reduces the energy by 40%. All the depths we have to go is 20 to 150. Already building the buildings that is existed now in the country, they go beyond these depths. So while we are doing the construction, why don't we implement this ground source cooling technology? And then the result of that one is we will be able to remove the heat to the ground. Okay, sectors and applications, you name it, we have it. So whether it's a government, a public place, schools, parks, everything, this project can be scalable to any kind of application we have. And also putting in mind sustainability, we can use that one for water heating and cooling. So we're doing both things at the same time. And also we can extend that to the agricultural use. We have already started in that direction. We have 4 students who are interested in a startup in the greenhouses, ground source cooling. So everything is here. We welcome your ideas, shares, comments, and we will be more than happy if anyone wants to collaborate in this project. Thank you very much for this presentation today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mazen. And I would like to add on or continue from Dr. Mazen's conversation. If you would like to collaborate with Dr. Mazen with any of the research that was presented to you just now, you will find Dr. Mazen's contact in the chat. And also now we would like to give you a 30-second poll again on the ability of commercialization for the research which was presented. So the poll will come up on your screen now, and we would like to invite you to vote for over the next 30 seconds on this project. Okay, thank you everybody for voting for the project. And now, without further ado, we would like to move to our following applied research presenter, our very own Dr. Yacouba Momoni from the faculty of Ras Al Khaimah campuses. Dr. Yacouba will be presenting research titled Applied Research Presentation, Energy Sharing Impacts on the Performance of Standalone Photovoltaic Systems. Dr. Yacouba, you may start your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for this kind presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, Dr. Yacouba.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to move this. Good morning, everyone. Again, thanks for having me. The title of my presentation today is Assessment of Energy Sharing Impacts on the Performance of a Standalone PV System. So what are we looking at currently? I'm going to go over the problems quickly that we face. What drove us into this research? Fossil fuels today, we know they are the cheapest, the most abundant and cheapest energy resources that people use commonly on Earth today. Okay, and also we came up to know that based on statistics that 85% of the energy that we consume today is coming from fossil fuels. And based on that, the rate at which they are declining or depleting is alarming. And yet the UAE is heavily dependent on fossil fuels. You can see this, based on this information here, we have the per capita energy consumption in the UAE, which is one of the highest in the world, is 16,000 kilowatt hour. Someone who's not in the field may say, okay, I don't understand this number. I don't get this number. But when I compare it, the United States of America consumes one quarter, 25% of the energy resources on Earth. I'm talking about fossil fuels here because I want to put an emphasis on fossil fuels. And yet their energy consumption, their per capita is 12,300 kilowatt hour per head and per year. So you can see now, it raised, like a red flag. We know that, we are going to a wrong direction. How are we gonna prepare our transition? We came up together, a faculty, a group of 4 faculty and 2 students. We worked together. We said we're gonna work on a project, to smooth out the energy transition of the UAE. How are we gonna be able to do that? The investigation, we put forward the energy sharing concepts. How are we gonna be able to share energy? We need to have a central energy storage system. And this central energy storage system is based on battery technology. We want to diversify the bill payment method. The bill payment method. Up to today, we know that bills are paid with cash. You work, you pay your bills. But we want to be able to give people, the resident of the UAE, the opportunity to pay their bills by doing some voluntary works, such as garden watering, tree trimming, road cleaning, and things like that. That's the concept that we came up with. So for us to be able to achieve that, we set up some strategies to begin with. The strategies, we started, classifying the users into 3 groups. The committed users, which are the green users, they have, the highest priority, then followed by the yellow users. They are very likely to do the work that we're going to be assigned to them. And the last but not least, we have, the red users. The red users are they do the work when they want. When they don't want, they don't care about. But what's the implication in terms of sharing energy, which means the energy storage system, the energy and the central battery will go first to the green users, then to the yellow users. Then if there's enough, it goes to the red users. So the good thing with the red users, they will not be penalized. The time will not allow me to elaborate more on this. I'm going to move on to the next point. We also tagged the loads at the premises of the customers. We came up with 3 categories of loads. The primary, which are the critical loads, such as fridge and lights. We have the secondary loads, and last we had the auxiliary loads. The auxiliary loads like entertainment loads, radio, TVs, which people can live without. Okay, so for us to be able to achieve all this, everything should fall into some criteria. What are the criteria? The voltage should not be distorted. The frequency should not be tampered with. And also we don't want to deep discharge the battery. The battery, once it is 20%, the minimum in the battery is 20%. We designed the algorithm in such a way that it will cut off the supply to the users. Our findings, we had scenarios. We came up with scenarios. We wrote the algorithm and we came up with scenarios. The scenarios were 9 in total, but the time will not allow me to present all the scenarios. I will only present 2 scenarios here. When you look at the first scenario on the top left corner here, we can see that, if we pay attention, we will see on top here that it says energy distributed. At the bottom, it says energy requested. So we kind of weigh the energy requested against the energy distributed, means the energy available and what people request from us. We can see that irrespective of the users, the green, the yellow, and the red, all of them were satisfied in this scenario. What is the reason behind that? The capacity of the system, to give us what we need. The capacity of the central storage system to retain the charges, also to have a low self-discharge. We also could attribute that to clear sky days, for example. And also we could also attribute that to the strict abidance of the customers to their priorities and load switching patterns. Then on the right-hand side, you can see the last scenario. In the last scenario, all the loads were cut off from the users, irrespective of the color of the user, except the critical loads for the green users. The loads again, L0, L1, and L2. What are the impacts of our system, or what are the impacts of this research? The research, we found that the central energy storage will have an economic impact directly on the customers, or the residents, then to the nation as a whole. How? Through load leveling, load shifting, and system reliability and resilience, increase in system reliability and resilience, which will lead to an environmental impact, positive environmental impact by cutting down greenhouse emissions. Opportunities, yes, the first opportunity that we may think of here is that in the UAE, the energy budget is immense, is tremendous. You look at here, it says 9.7 hours a day. 9.7 hours a day. And that could be translated to 6.3 kilowatt hour for every single square meters. This the amount of energy that arrives on every single square meter in the UAE on average. This is tremendous. On top of that, we can talk about the efficiency, increase in efficiency of the PV panels. Before, the PV panels were not only less efficient, but they were mainly used for space application. Today, the cost per kilowatt hour for the PV and the battery are going significantly down. And this could lead researchers, industry, lawmakers, investors to collaborate and come up with a good plan for to smooth out the UAE's energy transition. In a nutshell, this is the takeaway of the research. Time will not allow me, as I said again, to elaborate more, especially where I wanted to. But thank you very much. Thanks for having me. This is the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yacouba. And just a comment on the presentation. I think if we see if our winters in the UAE continue to be as sunny as it is this winter, then you will be very happy and very successful in your research.
Thank
you. Thank you, Dr. Yacouba, for presenting this research, and thank you also to the students who worked with you and the faculty who worked with you on this research. We really strive to make sure that our students and faculty all work together and collaborate when it comes to producing research such as this. If you'd like to contact Dr. Yacouba, you will find his contact details in the chat for purposes of collaboration or data sharing. Also, we will now again be presenting to you a quick 30-second poll on the commercialization aspect or viability of this project. So you can see the poll in front of you now, and you may proceed to vote. Once again, a big thank you to our three esteemed faculty who presented their applied research for us today, Dr. Aisha Bushlebi, Dr. Mazen Abu Haraz, and Dr. Yacouba Moumouni. Thank you very much. To all of the attendees, if you would like to see more of our faculty's applied research, you can visit our InnCuVation Forum virtual showcase where you can see all the various innovations that have to do with health, sustainability, education, and emerging technology. And we will share with you the link once more in the chat. And now for our next segment, we will be moving to the strategic outlook on sustainability for our startups. And those startups are headed by our very own HCT students. So today we will have 3 presentations on 3 different startups, but all of whom have a great impact on sustainability in different ways. For our first startup presentation, we will be having a presentation from our student Fatima Khalid on the company HCT System Smart Water Leakage Monitoring System. It is a smart intervention solution for water leakage, monitoring levels of pH, temperature, and turbidity. It has all the advantages of a reliable and efficient water saving and monitoring system, supporting residential homes and buildings where customers can monitor and control the system remotely using a smart application. Fatima, you may begin your presentation. Fatima, if you can unmute, please. Thank you.
Sorry, just a second. I will share my screen.
Sure.
Should I start?
Yes, Fatima, you can start. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure having you all today. My name is Fatima Khalid from HCT System team. Water leakage is a common issue in residential houses, which means higher water consumption and higher water bills. So we, HCT System company, designed a product that can promise a reliable water saving and monitoring system. Our product is based on a mobile application that can control the flow of water automatically from the phone. In addition, to improve the customer's experience, and can improve the customer's experience by showing him the quality of the water he is using via different sensors installed in the hardware section of the product and then transmitted to the software section. Speaking of the products and services we provide, first is the mobile application, which can control and show both the flow and quality of the water. And second, we provide an automatic leakage controller, which comprise the manufacturing, installation, and maintenance of the system hardware. Our potential customers are both residential customers and industrial customers, like Siwa, Diwa, Fiwa, or other companies. For residential customers, our system discovers and stops any leakage in the house and checks up on the water quality. And for industrial customers, our system reduces the water testing cost and provide better monitoring as it displays live stream values. Regarding our business model, we have built a prototype and now we are finalizing the design to implement it on household water tanks. We have agreed with the Mohammed bin Rashid Housing Establishment to install our product in their houses as an initial test. And once we have the valuable testing results, we are planning to install it in villas and from there expand it to city buildings and flats. And for the expansion plan, we are now in talks with Siwa to be our customers and install our products in different communities in the Emirates of Sharjah. Our total required budget is a total of 49,845 dirhams, which will be divided between prototype development, app development, and licensing and registration. These are our contact infos, and thank you for having us, and we are open to your valuable suggestions and opinions, and thank you for listening.
Fatma, if I can ask that you go back to the slide with your contact information, maybe we can leave it up on the screen for a little bit. If anybody would like to contact the team that is in charge of the HCT System startup, these are the contacts up on the screen. I'm also very happy to hear from Fatma that they are in talks with many government institutions to be able to implement their products and services. And this is something that we are encouraging our students, our faculty to always engage with industry with regards to all projects that they do. Thank you so much, Fatma, for presenting. Thank you so much. Now we will be moving on to our next startup, our next presentation. So the next presentation will be a startup named eFate. eFate is an e-waste collection and management system. The presentation on eFate will be presented by our student Mohammed Al-Hammadi. To give you a overview about eFate, eFate is a specialized company in managing and collecting e-waste and aims to achieve sustainability as well as save the environment by building a link between e-waste customers and recyclers. eFate will support in placing the UAE as a leader in the field of recycling. In 2019 4-week pilot, 1,100 kilograms of e-waste was collected by the company. And the target for 2020 was to collect and process 100 tons of e-waste. So without further ado, Mohammed, you may begin your presentation.
Thank you, Khalid, for the introduction. Just to correct you about the 100 ton, it was 2020 Corona, so we moved it for the next year, for this year. Okay, so I'll share my screen. So the background is not working for me, so I'll continue with this background. Starting. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking time to listen to our pitch. My name is Mohammed Al-Hammadi, CEO and a co-founder of eFate, an electronic waste management company. Just 1 minute to... Sorry for that. I'll continue. So how many of you dispose your electronic waste in the right way? Well, you are not alone. Out of 50 billion tons of e-waste disposed annually, just 20% is recycled. And that means a lot of natural resource is consumed. And with the increase of data privacy concerns, people less likely they trust their e-waste to properly recycled. And also the difficulties of transportation here in UAE. People are less likely recycle their e-waste through these surfaces. So let's talk about solutions that eFate provide. eFate centralizes consumers with e-waste recycling facility in a click of a button. We provide an accessible drop-off stations without communities here in UAE. And we provide also valuable insights for our actionable reports for B2B and B2G clients. We also monitor in e-waste recycling process from A to Z to ensure that all data is being handled professionally and environmentally friendly way. Let's talk about expansion plan of eFate. We aim to work with residential communities as well as public and private organizations. At the moment, we are working with Sustainable City and HCT. We look forward to expand our network to clients among the key emirates of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, targeting key sites and events such as Expo 2020. They move it like 2021 right now. Our team have a diverse combination of skills that play towards jump-starting eFate. Myself, Mohammed Al-Hammadi, I'm CEO, and I have background in financial and asset management. My colleague Ibrahim Saeed, the CMO, will be in charge of marketing, PR, and delivering awareness sessions for people. Our CEO, Muhammad Saleh, is experiencing in managing operations and will ensure that our startup is efficiently managed from day one. And the main objective of eFate is aligned with Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, the new policy that he launched in January. And the goal of adoption is recycling a circular economy that encourage sustainable consumption and effective waste management. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy our pitch.
Thank you so much, Mohammed.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's okay. I would like to just pose a question to you. What does it feel like to start a company along with your fellow students, your fellow colleagues who you studied with in university?
So just to mention that we graduated in 2019. Me and Muhammad Saleh and Ibrahim, we graduated at the same time. And we decided to make our graduation project that wins the HCT awards to make it a real startup, so we can benefit from it and we can do something that will benefit us in the future. And since the country now moving towards entrepreneurs and all this localized work, we have a lot of we have a lot of support from HCT to start our company.
Thank you so much, Mohammed.
You're welcome.
And good luck to you and to the team. To everybody who is listening here today, we have placed the link to the eFate website in the chat. If you would like more details on eFate or to get in touch with them, you will find it on the presentation also, and you will find it in the chat function. Thank you so much, Mohammed. And now we would like to move on to our final, last, obviously, but not least, company, which will present today. So our final company which will present today is 3DCP, which is 3D construction planning and consulting, 3D design and printing. And this company will be presented by Mohammed Tayyib. 3D design and printing introduces a revolutionary way to design futuristic buildings using 3D printing and optimized topology. It focuses on unique patterns and designs to minimize the amounts of materials utilized and ensures low thermal conductivity of the walls while preserving structural strength. Mohammed, you may present your company.
So good morning, everybody. My name is Mohammed Tayyib Al-Awadi, and I'm the CMO of 3D construction and printing. Our team is made up of 5 people. The Chief Executive Officer is Abdullah Swedi. Chief Operations Officer is Isa bin Shagoui. The Chief Marketing Officer, myself, Mohammed Al-Awadi. Chief of the COO is Zarin bin Ali, and the CTO is Hussein Al-Yassi. So the issues we're facing in the United Arab Emirates and the Middle Eastern region itself in the 3D construction industry is that we don't have much studies on thermal efficiency and heat transfer properties of the 3D printed walls. We don't have many solutions for these buildings, especially for hot climates like the Middle Eastern region and the United Arab Emirates. And we don't have any consultancy agencies or companies that can help find solutions to these problems and to build the walls in a better way. What we're doing to find solutions to these issues is provide studies based on thermal assessments and heat transfer properties of the walls, and create new designs for buildings which are meant to be built, and walls and buildings that have already been built, to find solutions to them and how to make them better in terms of thermal efficiency. We also provide consultancy for companies which want to build new walls. The industry overview around the globe is $310 million. $310 million US is the global market size in 2019. It's expanding at a rate of 106.5%, which is the compound annual growth until the year of 2027, 6 years from now. The estimated market size 6 years from now is estimated to be $4 billion US. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid in Dubai has set a term that by 2030, the target is that 25% of buildings and houses within Dubai are to be 3D printed. We aim to be a part of this percentage and to help to reach this goal. Our business model, our average pricing range starts from 150 to 200,000 dirhams. In the year 2022, we predict to have 5 clients, and the package price is to be 100,000 dirhams, and the revenue is 500,000. As you can see, 2 years from that, it increases, the package price increases to 150,000 dirhams, and the revenue is estimated to be 3 million dirham for about 20 clients. How we differ from other companies and our advantage is that we're able to reduce energy costs. We avoid condensation and mold formation within the walls itself. This in terms of increasing durability and strength of the walls, not only assessing heat transfer properties. This will also be cost saving, since in the long term it will reduce operational maintenance costs, and the life cycle of the wall will also be increased. This is our contact information. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. We'll also be placing the 3DCP website in the chat. So along with the contact information, you can see the amazing work that's being done by our students. A big thank you to all 3 startups that we've seen today, with different sectors of sustainability being addressed. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Thank you to Fatima, and thank you also to Mohammed Al-Hammadi for presenting on behalf also of your other colleagues who are working with you in these companies in their different job titles. To our attendees here today, we'd like to also remind you once again that the InnCuVation Forum virtual showcase is available, where you will be able to see the different startups that we mentioned here today, in addition to all of the HCT startups being presented during this week in the different sectors, including health, sustainability, education, and emerging sectors. So you will find the link in the chat for that. A final thank you to all of the industry and government attendees for attending these past sessions. We are also looking forward to you attending the final session that we have here today, which is the Inspire and Ideate sessions. The Inspire and Ideate sessions are a way for you to get inspiration for your next sustainability related startup or applied research project. These sessions will explore key industry trends in sustainability, helping students and faculty envision high potential opportunities on which to focus their applied research and entrepreneurial ventures. When we come back to you after 15 minutes at exactly 1 p.m., our moderator will be Faris Hello from the HCT Startup Development Program. So stick around with us. Thank you.
Hi again. It's nice to have you guys here. It's nice to be with you guys again today. So just like yesterday, today we're going to be running an Inspire and Ideate session. And luckily this time around, my colleague Faris Hello is here with us, and he'll be walking us through our session today. So Faris will be talking about sustainability and how we can derive startup ideas from there. And please let him take the floor and give him a warm welcome.
All right, thank you, Omar. And hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So on behalf of the team, I'd like to thank, of course, first the leadership and the esteemed guests from HCT. And of course, the whole team that's been involved in organizing these sessions yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And of course, to thank you all for being with us here today. You know, we've had some pretty interesting conversations today from some experts in the field of sustainability. You know, we've heard people talking about the role and the importance of academia and research in promoting innovation and sustainability, and the role that innovation has in enabling the UAE's vision for sustainability in food security, and especially around certain topics like water, food, and energy. And especially from some of the faculty and students who are doing some real on-the-ground research and startups in those spaces. So as Omar said, my name is Faris Hello. I work with the Applied Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship team here at HCT. So together we are supporting some of the aspiring entrepreneurs, you know, such as some of yourselves, in a number of ways. And you know, maybe we'll talk a bit more about that by the end of the session. But myself, I work with many people across many different stages in their businesses. I advise some extremely large companies, private institutions, as well as some organizations and entrepreneurs that are just establishing themselves, you know, in the very early conceptualization stages and throughout all the different stages. And I've worked with non-for-profit organizations and private organizations, or sorry, public organizations around the GCC and especially in the UAE. So I'm not necessarily an expert in sustainability, although a lot of my engagements and a lot of the work I've done is around those fields. But I know a thing or two about the startup ecosystem. I've invested in some startups, and I've advised some close friends in their startups. So, you know, building on this on the topic of sustainability, and if you joined us yesterday, then you know what we'd like to do today is just spend the next 20-30 minutes to share some of our perspective on this field, and then see potentially some ideas on what you could be doing in terms of startups in this space. Omar, why don't you take us to the next slide, please? So we've heard today, you know, a few different perspectives in terms of what is sustainability, and sustainability it's an incredibly rich and deep topic. It's without a doubt something that everyone has heard about, and in probably one way or another been involved with in some capacity, personally or professionally. Probably the first formal definition of sustainability came in the mid-80s, in the early days of probably the previous industrial revolution. And it's interesting, I think it was engineer Anwar. She said the definition of sustainability for her is a guarantee to give my grandchildren, as she said, a better life than mine. And I think that's really interesting, because this was one of the bases of sustainability from the very early days, which is at a global level, there was this realization that despite all the progress that was being made and all the development that was being made, there was still significant poverty and social issues. Even in a lot of the developing world, they still had a lot of lack of distribution of wealth, and lack of availability of some of the necessities that we have in today's world. So what happened in the early 80s and the mid 80s was the UN commissioned a report that was eventually published 4 years later in 87. And The conclusion there was the definition of sustainability that you see in front of you. Something very close to what Engineer Omar mentioned. And the official definition is that sustainability is about meeting the needs of the present without compromising or jeopardizing the needs of the future. So in this way, we saw the first unification and harmony between certain pillars that now we recognize as being, what sustainability is about. And a lot of people, a lot of the panelists today were completely right in saying sustainability isn't just about what people often think it is, which is environmental sustainability. It's also about economic sustainability, and it's about social sustainability, and it's about the union between those three things. Of course, we understand that environmental sustainability and the environmental dimension, it's the focus on the lands, the seas, our air quality, but it's also related to human consumption. It's related to agriculture. It's related to waste disposal and management. The economic dimension is about creating a balance between nations that have a relatively high resource consumption rate with those nations that probably aren't at that same standard of living. It's about poverty eradication. It's about factoring in what are the social and environmental consequences as part of achieving economic prosperity. And then we have the social dimension, which is about bringing peace, justice, security to people. It's about protecting human rights and well-being, and about preserving our culture, and about promoting inclusion and gender diversity. And you see that these elements are things that were reflected as well by some of the panelists, especially in reference to the Sustainable Development Goals, which actually takes us to our next slide. And of course, this is an opportunity for you to engage with us. If you feel that this definition of sustainability, or that there are some new interpretations of sustainability not covered by what we're talking about, by all means, share your thoughts in the chat and let's have a discussion around that. Omar, if you can move us to the next page, please. So, ever since that report in the mid-80s, the world kind of rallied together over the last 3 decades. We saw a lot of policies, a lot of initiatives that targeted sustainability in many different ways. We saw things like the Millennium Development Goals. We saw things like the Kyoto Protocol, Agenda 21. We saw so many different things, all with the aim of striving and propelling the world towards sustainability in one way or another across those 3 dimensions. Probably the most well-recognized global initiative is, the one that we've been speaking about throughout the day, and the one that you see on the screen there related to the Sustainable Development Goals, which is related again to the 2030 Agenda. And this is something, that 193 member states of the UN, including the UAE, have all signed as a kind of promise to adhere to, and something that we want to embody in our national strategies, in our national programs. And we know that the SDG goals has 17 specific areas that it focuses on that are for the benefit of our planet, for the benefit of this generation and future generations as well. Things like eradicating poverty, reducing hunger to 0, ensuring that we have access to clean water and sanitation, promoting sustainable cities, and of course, things like responsible consumption and production. And I won't go into the details of all of those. I think they were covered in previous conversations. What instead I want to try to focus on, and Omar, if you can take us to the next page, please, is, what does that look like for us here in the UAE? We know that the UAE, and we heard also from some of our speakers today, that the UAE is investing a lot in this space. We see that organizations like ADNOC have incredible programs that they are investing millions, if not billions of dirhams into to support these kinds of sustainability programs. So the UAE has been a strong advocate, and I think a prime example of what sustainable development looks like. His Highness, the late Sheikh Zayed, God rest his soul, he was a strong supporter of sustainable consumption, of sustainable behaviors, and investing in people's livelihoods in order to support the growth and prosperity of future generations. There was a quote that I remember, and I might be paraphrasing, but he once said that the UAE's ancestors were able to live and survive in this environment, in the UAE's environment, because they recognized the need to protect it, of course, and to take from it only what was needed to live. And of course, with the aim of preserving it for future generations. So the culture and philosophy of sustainability is something that has been in the UAE for many decades, and something that I think underlines what we do. And today we see a lot of that legacy translated in new initiatives and new strategic priorities for the country. We see that sustainability is or was maybe a key part of the UAE's 2021 vision, but it's also a huge part of the UAE's centennial plan that guides us for the next 50 years in the UAE. We see other initiatives like the UAE's energy plan for 2050 that sets a target of 50% clean energy as part of our energy mix. We see programs like the ones mentioned today about sustainable building codes, about what we're doing in terms of aquaculture, in terms of the programs that we have like Istidama and others in the country. So there's been some major investments in these areas like renewable energy, environmental conservation, the infrastructure, and so on. So for the people who are looking towards opportunities in terms of how they can get involved and what kinds of startups or businesses they may involve themselves in, there is an enormous amount of support. There's an enormous amount of investment already happening in the space, and definitely room for new people to join. Amr, why don't you take us to the next slide, please? So ultimately, we see this kind of maybe manifesting itself in just a few challenges for the UAE, or this can be, I think, applied at a global level, but also specifically to the UAE. What we see here is that one of the major trends we have is in terms of energy consumption and the behaviors that we have when it comes to that. We saw one of the examples from the faculties and the research that they do is how to address energy efficiency in buildings. And ultimately what happens is when we have inefficient behaviors with energy consumption, it creates a burden on the whole system. There's a requirement for higher investments in the peak capacity for generation and transmission. And ultimately, it means that there's a lot of waste in the system. And even at the buildings level, there's a lot of waste that is just lost to the environment, not to mention the impact the negative impact that it has on the environment. So we see these kinds of significant investments also in other places. We know that there's a huge need on supporting on supporting water and supporting the security for our water systems, and ensuring that also we are maximizing our efficiency on water. But we also see certain trends in terms of investments geared towards these green startups and green sectors. And this is called sustainable finance, where we see that banks, even consumer behaviors, support organizations that have these kinds of initiatives that have a component of social responsibility and sustainability. And of course, we see all this being propelled with new technologies for collecting data, for making use of that data, and helping us as investors, as business people, and even as consumers better channel our energy, our efforts into organizations that are contributing positively to our resource consumption and to the positive impact that we can have on the environment and society. Omar, next page, please. Great. So we have a few examples for you, and I think my colleague Omar can walk us through these. Omar.
Yes, definitely, Faraz. Thank you for that. So as Faraz was stressing on essentially how the world has come to shape and define sustainability, it has actually also inspired several people, especially between the ages or between the years of the early 2000s to today, to sort of find a new way to pave the road when it comes to even startups, not necessarily just supportive technologies for sustainability. As you can see here, I have 3 different examples ahead of you. One from Fewergy, sorry, it's a weird word, and Yesai, and then HST. Fewergy has developed actually its own AI-powered solution that helps manage the allocation of different renewable energies as well as regular energy in actual multiple different kinds of environments, which can start from warehouses to actual office buildings, and it can even be adopted in apartment buildings and apartment complexes themselves. So it's just a very nice and organized solution that helps you as an end user or someone that manages property to effectively monitor and distribute your renewables or any kind of energy sources. Moving on to Yesai, Yesai actually has created a very interesting and technology-based vertical farm. Essentially what they're trying to do is trying to find a way for agriculturists to not really rely on external sources to review their local availability. And at the same time, they want to reduce the use of chemicals and pesticide within their products and ensure a circular economy by creating food production sources within the country rather again from importing. HST, on the other hand, is actually a company that's creating an AI-powered software that helps people, or basically manufacturers, design solar farms. And it's actually more effective by 20% because it uses the artificial intelligence tool that helps plan and dedicate to the different resources and different areas of the farm and make it the most effective and most efficient solution that is currently out there. So that was just a gist between the startups and how things are actually shaping. These startups are relatively young and they're just been around for a couple of years. So it's just interesting to see how these different organizations are connecting the dots between the need of starting up entrepreneurship ventures and connecting it to sustainability and tackling very important challenges. Faraz, back to you.
Thanks, Omar. We can move to the next slide, please. And our aim with all this is to, just build on what you've been hearing throughout the day and probably things that you've been aware of. But the idea is to put it all on the table today and see how we can use our knowledge on global trends, on things that the UAE itself is doing, distill it into some areas that we can start to ideate around and areas that we can potentially start to innovate around, just as the entrepreneurs that were behind some of those companies Omar mentioned earlier did in relation to their environments and their ecosystems to come up with the startups that they have. So where we feel, and of course, by no means are these comprehensive, they're just 3 or 4 ideas to kind of get us going. What we see is potential opportunities in areas related to mitigating the impact that we're having on the climate, but also in combination with diversifying potentially our energy resources. And together, these two complement each other very well, meaning that if we're able to continue to leverage and to invest in renewable energy sources, combine that with certain other energy management technologies and capabilities, then we can start to really address the negative impact that we might be having on the environment, but then also support businesses and organizations and individuals from an economic perspective and as well as a social perspective. Another major point that we also heard today, and it's something that we believe in, is how can we fight biodiversity loss? How can we support the agriculture through technology, through innovation? And here we believe there's a lot that can be done to support the space through, and we'll see some examples of that in a few seconds, but things that we can do on the soil, things that we can do in plants and in other spaces related to the food supply chain to strengthen that part of the ecosystem. And then, of course, in terms of how we support one of our most scarce resources, which is water, ensuring that we have the right quality, the right supply, and the security of the water that we need for essentially all facets of life and business. Omar, why don't we take a look at how we've been able to maybe take some of these areas of opportunities and translate them into businesses. But before jumping into those specific ideas, Omar, why don't we maybe showcase a few videos that represent these ideas in a different way? Bear with us while we get that video going. Omar, the video isn't playing. Thanks, Omar. Just before you play that second video, let me just make a quick introduction. We'll jump in halfway through the video. So this particular idea, it might not be new to everyone, but it's in a very interesting way. But this particular product is an intelligent pot that has sensors to detect certain aspects of the soil and therefore tell you whether or not your plant is growing in a healthy condition, healthy environment, or not. Omar?
Microcarpa plant over here, and this one is indeed in the system, as you can see. There are more than 3,000 plants registered within the app and more than 1,000 maintenance methods. From there on, we can measure the water and fertility levels. Within the app, you can also search for your flower or plant via 4 simple steps, in case you don't know the name. I think that the flower pot looks pretty dope, but it's kind of gimmicky.
Better energy everywhere for everyone. Total, proud to sponsor sustainable energy.
STEM couples energy storage with artificial intelligence so that its customers can store renewable energy on a major scale. Then they can use it efficiently when and where they need it, saving time and money.
We build and operate the largest digitally connected network of intelligent energy storage solutions that's all cloud enabled and is driven by our AI software platform that we call Athena. STEM's AI-powered energy storage solution gives businesses flexibility and control over their energy spend. We lower cost by storing electricity when it's affordable and using it later when costs are high.
As well as respond.
Great, thank you, Omar. If we can go back to the presentation, please. So what you saw there were three ideas, three solutions, tackling three different problems that we've been about throughout the whole day, and challenges that are faced not only at a global level, but also at the UAE level. They're not necessarily the most revolutionary ideas, but they go to show you that there's a lot of people out there working with a lot of interesting ideas, innovative ideas, and trying to bring something new and different to the market, probably relevant to where they are, but definitely with some applications that can be useful for the UAE and maybe in your own context. So with that being said, the three ideas that we're talking about today, also related to the challenges that we saw and the opportunities that we've been talking about, are the following. The first is in terms of a technology or a system rather that allows you to scan the products or the food that you buy and understand what's the entire value chain related to that product, to that food. What's the story behind it? Who was involved at every stage of its manufacture, of its transportation, and eventually until it reaches your doorstep or your fridge. So we saw this in the example in the video that we played with the coffee beans. We saw how it was manufactured, or rather how it went from a plantation to a processing, eventually into the distribution network and into the stores and hands of the consumers. And at every stage, you can see the footprint, the sustainability footprint of that product. Something like that can encourage consumers to move towards more sustainable products, but also encourage that kind of sustainability all throughout the value chain. So that's something that we believe is quite interesting. The second is based on the video that we saw with the pot and the soil, in which, again, we believe an interesting idea here is combining data, combining deep learning or artificial intelligence to monitor and provide analytics on the soil, on the health of the environment and the health of your produce, in order to take better decisions and to ensure that we have higher yields and optimal consumption of resources. And then finally, the last one is something that we heard also earlier today. It's building digital systems, and this can be done in so many different ways, but systems that, again, deploy different types of data, different types of machine learning or AI, to understand what are optimal energy consumption patterns, where do we have inefficient assets, whether it's at home, in buildings, in manufacturing assets, and so on, and what can we do to better optimize energy consumption and improve our overall carbon footprint in these areas. So these are the three startups that we're presenting today, or the ideas that we have today, based on everything that we've heard, based on the topic that we have related to sustainability, and so on. And one of the important things to keep in mind here is that these kinds of ideas, and in general, who is involved around you and the stakeholder environment that you have around you is incredibly important. There are many government institutions that can be supporters for these kinds of initiatives and these kinds of startups. They could be consumers and customers for these kinds of startups. There are many engineers, and some of you might be some of those engineers, but also experts in these fields that you can reach out to, that you would need to reach out to in order to develop these ideas further. But then also better understanding what are some of the consumer behaviors, customer requirements and expectations that will ultimately help you design your solutions and launch your startups. To me, there was an interesting quote, and I think a lesson that was said by one of the co-founders of Airbnb, and he said, you know, if we tried to think of a good idea, we wouldn't have been able to think of a good idea. You just have to find the solution for a problem in your own life. And I think that's quite interesting when you apply that to sustainability, because of how personal sometimes these challenges, these opportunities are, and the kinds of startups or solutions that you may need to come up with. But then also it resonates with, you know, entrepreneurship is not just about going alone. It's not a solo endeavor for the most part. You really do have to work collaboratively with a team, reach out to your network, reach out to some of these stakeholders that can help you take some of these ideas forward. And that's it from my side. Omar, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add from your side.
Thank you very much, Faris, for that and beautiful presentation about sustainability and especially about the different startup ideas. And for you in the audience, if you're at HCT and you're a student with us, please take a look at this barcode and give it a scan. There you can select the idea that you like the most. Make sure to select the sustainability startup idea section, and then we'll jump into the different solutions that we have discussed over at or Faris has shared with us. And we can also work with you to help you develop your own idea if you'd like through the HCT Startup Development Program. But other than that, we'd like to very much thank you for your time. Please visit the QR code and let us know, give us your feedback. And if you're interested in pursuing a startup idea with us, we're here to support you.
Thank you very much, Omar and Faris. Thank you for presenting to us quite a comprehensive view on what is sustainability, what are the different areas that startups can get into in terms of sustainability, and why, I mean, startups that have to do with sustainability are pretty much the future. And even if a startup doesn't necessarily go into a very rigorous sustainability field, they still have to incorporate aspects of sustainability within their own startup, no matter what that is. So thank you very much for this presentation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for the second day of our HCT's InnCuVation Forum 2021. Day 2 has been all about the different aspects of sustainability. We've heard from experts in oil and gas. We've heard from experts in Expo 2020. We've heard from experts in utilities and many other companies who have joined us here today. A big thank you also to our faculty, staff, and students who have presented their research, their findings, shown us their startups, and presented all of the different material that we saw today. To give you a sneak peek into what you can expect tomorrow, it's going to be quite an exciting day as we delve into the ever-expanding world of technology. Emerging technology and education is going to be our topic for day 3 of HCT's InnCuVation Forum. We are going to have a lot of speakers who are going to touch on many topics, including and not limited to artificial intelligence, VR, and data science, and the many different technologies that we see emerging in our world today. Some of the companies that the speakers come from are Injazat, Microsoft, Blackboard, and the Ministry of Education itself. So stick around with us tomorrow. We'll hope to see you at the timing that we will show to you on the screen shortly. We will present to you now the timings that you can expect. and the different presenters and where they come from, along with their topics that they will be presenting. Thank you once again for joining us for day 2, and see you tomorrow during day 3.